Thank you for coming out here after what has been an absolutely bonkers year. With a global pandemic, a national recession, and a confusing Brexit deal, we as a nation have been left in a very turbulent situation. But this country now has a choice. As the end of this pandemic approaches, we reach a crossroad. We can go back to what we had, or we can take a bold step forward. If this government chooses to do so, we can build meaningful, prosperous infrastructure. We can rethink how we run our economy. We can look ahead at the long-term goals. We can tackle both the climate crisis and the unemployment crisis at the same time. We can do all of that if we invest in a Green New Deal. For 10 years, those in Westminster claimed to be getting our economy back on its feet for austerity measures. They took money out of public services, including the NHS, social care and education. They massively decreased investments, and make no mistake, it has not worked. Indeed, this pandemic has only worsened problems we had in this country, and only heightened inequalities we allowed to exist. But I will not downplay the effect this pandemic has had. Last December, the national unemployment rate reached 5.1%. For every 20 people who could be working, one of them is jobless. We are facing an unemployment crisis. We have to take immediate action to assuage the effects of this pandemic and get us on the right track. Otherwise, we are going to lose 1.9 million jobs for good. And let us not forget, in the midst of all this, humanity is facing an existential climate crisis. The 5 years following the Paris Climate Agreement were the 5 hottest on record. We have seen wildfires rage across the face of the globe, in Australia, America, and even the Arctic. If we want the human experiment to succeed, we need to ramp up our game and get to zero carbon emissions before it's too late. The United Kingdom is the 6th largest economy in the world. We can do so much better than this. We can take real leadership. As we come out of this pandemic, we can engage with our world-renowned scientific community to find practical, meaningful ways to achieve our post-carbon economy. We can show the world how to tackle the climate crisis and the unemployment crisis side by side. It could be one of the few success stories of this century. That's what the Green New Deal is about. It's about making green and well-paid jobs for everyone who wants one. Not just in the stereotypically green sectors like recycling centers. Every aspect of our economy should get the funding it needs to achieve its maximum potential without harming the planet. From industry to construction to care to education to the National Health Service. If we chose green investment, we could create over 1.2 million green jobs in the next 2 years. That would not only reverse the loss of jobs to the pandemic, but it would create a net increase of over 200,000 jobs. And it would cost £68 billion, which is less than the £100 billion the government committed earlier this year to invest in infrastructure. Green solutions don't have to be expensive. Solutions that help the vulnerable don't have to be expensive. They just have to be well thought out, taking both the present and the future into account. The poor and the climate before profit. We are at a point in the history of the world where humanity collectively has more money in savings than ever before, and at the same time we are investing a smaller proportion of our savings than ever before. We have more money than ever before, and we are spending a smaller proportion of that money than ever before. That is quite simply stupidity in action. It's time we made radical, systematic investments into the economy that rebuild our infrastructure, bring us out of this unemployment crisis, and pave the way to a prosperous post-carbon economy. So we've got some time to have